The morning sunlight slipped through the thin white curtains, brushing across my face like a gentle reminder that life was still moving forward, even when my heart wasn't ready. I woke up to the familiar sounds of clinking bangles, murmured laughter, and the soft hum of wedding songs echoing from downstairs. My younger sister, Ria, was getting married, the day our entire family had been preparing for months. As the eldest daughter, I'd always been the one who held everything together. The calm voice in chaos, the one who made sure everyone ate, that the guests had rooms, that nothing ever went wrong. So it was strange that morning when my mother avoided my eyes as I entered the kitchen, and my father gave me only a distracted nod before walking away. I brushed it off, thinking maybe they were too stressed with the wedding rush. But something in the air felt off. I poured myself some tea and looked around the kitchen. My aunts were busy discussing saris and jewelry, my cousins were taking selfies, and the household staff darted around like bees. Everyone had something to do, someone to talk to. Everyone except me. I tried to insert myself into a conversation about the haldi ceremony, but one of my cousins gently said, "Oh, we already handled that, don't worry." Handled that. That was my job. A strange hollow feeling began to grow in my stomach, but I smiled anyway, convincing myself I was imagining things. Families get stressed during weddings. Maybe I was just overthinking. I threw myself into helping with flower arrangements, calling vendors, and double-checking the guest list, just like I always did. That's when I overheard something that made my hands freeze mid-air. My uncle was speaking to the event manager on the phone. "Yes, 2 deluxe rooms for the groom's family, 1 for the cousins. Oh, and cancel one of the rooms from our side, the final count is 47. 47? There were supposed to be 48. I stepped closer and asked, "Whose room got cancelled?" He looked startled for a second, then awkwardly said, "Oh, maybe they miscounted." Later, when the room allocations came out, everyone, even my far-off cousin from Canada, had their names printed neatly on the list. Everyone but me. When I asked my mother about it, she barely looked up from the piles of jewelry on the bed. "Beta, there aren't enough rooms in the hotel. You can stay here at home. You'll be more comfortable anyway." Her tone was casual, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. I swallowed my pride and smiled. "Of course, Ma. Whatever's easier for you." But deep inside, something broke. Quietly, invisibly. 2 nights before the wedding, I was working on some last-minute decorations when my best friend, Mira, called. Her voice was bubbling with excitement. "Girl, what are you wearing for the pre-wedding video? You have to look stunning. The drone shots are insane." I frowned. "What video?" She laughed. "Ria's pre-wedding shoot. It's all over Instagram, the behind-the-scenes clips, the family dance, your parents posing under that floral arch. It's beautiful." My stomach dropped. I opened Instagram with trembling hands. There it was, Ria twirling in a pastel lehenga, my parents laughing beside her, cousins dancing in choreographed perfection. The caption read, "The Sharma family celebrates love." Except the Sharma family looked complete without me. I wasn't in a single frame. Not one. At first, I thought maybe they'd post more later. Maybe I was in another reel, maybe. But no. The next post showed the family portrait, the one we'd always dreamed of taking. My place in the lineup was filled by someone else. My sister's best friend, apparently. I felt my throat tighten. My fingers scrolled mechanically through the comments. What a beautiful family. So much love in one picture. Goals. Each one felt like a knife twisting deeper. That night, when I confronted my mother, she sighed. "Oh, don't be dramatic, Ananya. It was a small shoot, and you were at work. We couldn't wait for you all day. I wasn't even told." I said, voice shaking. "You didn't even text me." Her reply was cold, sharp. "You're always so sensitive. It's Ria's time to shine. Don't make it about you." That was the first time I realized I wasn't part of their family story anymore. I was just the extra. The wedding day arrived like a storm. Everyone sparkled in gold and pink, laughter filled the air, and cameras flashed like stars. I wore a simple blue sari, standing quietly at the edge of the stage. Every time a photographer passed, I smiled hopefully, but their lenses always pointed elsewhere. Toward the perfect family, toward my sister's glowing happiness. When the final family photo was taken, my father turned to me and said, "Ananya, could you get some water for your mother?" I nodded and walked away, heart heavy, watching as the shutter clicked without me. That single click, that tiny sound, felt like a door closing forever. I spent the rest of the evening helping with logistics, ensuring the guests had food, the lights stayed on, and the rituals ran smoothly. No one noticed how quiet I'd become. No one noticed that I hadn't eaten all day. When the newlyweds left for their honeymoon, I stood at the gate watching the car disappear into the misty night. My mother hugged my sister tightly, my father waved proudly, and I just stood there invisible, a shadow on the driveway. I thought maybe, once the wedding chaos ended, things would go back to normal. Families fight, right? People forget, they move on. But I was wrong. Because that wedding didn't just exclude me, it changed something fundamental in how my family saw me. Or maybe it revealed how they'd always seen me. And when my turn came, when it was my wedding, the world would remember my name in a way no one in my family ever imagined. Months passed after Ria's wedding, but the memories clung to me like an old bruise, fading on the surface, yet aching underneath. Every time I scrolled through social media, I'd see her smiling face in bridal reels, tagged posts, and family photos where I didn't exist. Even friends who didn't know the story would message me things like, "Your sister looked stunning," or "That family shoot was epic." Each comment reminded me of how easily people could erase someone from a story, and how quickly the world moved on. I tried to bury myself in work. As a marketing consultant for a small creative agency in Delhi, I spent my days pitching campaigns and nights trying to convince myself that I was happy. I smiled at colleagues, helped interns, and even attended office parties pretending nothing was wrong. But deep down, I felt like I was living someone else's life, one where I didn't belong anywhere, not even in my own home. Then one day, everything shifted, almost by accident. It was a Friday evening, and I was giving a presentation for a new client, an eco-friendly wedding planning startup called Soul Knot. They wanted to promote sustainability and inclusivity in weddings, something about love without waste. I remember smiling bitterly at that irony as I clicked through the slides. After the meeting, the CEO, Arav Malhotra, came up to me. He was tall, with calm brown eyes and a disarming kind of honesty in his smile. "You spoke with a lot of passion," he said. "You've been through a wedding mess yourself, haven't you?" I blinked, startled. "What makes you say that?" He chuckled softly. "You talk about emotions like someone who's been on the outside looking in." I didn't answer, but something about his words stayed with me. Over the next few weeks, our professional collaboration turned into friendship. Arav had this strange ability to listen, really listen, without interrupting or judging. I found myself opening up about things I'd never said aloud. The cancelled hotel room. The missing photo. The way my family's silence hurt more than any insult could. He didn't offer pity. He just said, "You didn't deserve that." For the first time in a long time, I believed it. Our friendship grew into something softer, deeper, a quiet understanding that neither of us had planned. One night, after a long project meeting, we were walking along Lothian Gardens. The city lights glowed in the distance, and he said, almost casually, "If I ever get married, I'd want it to feel like a celebration of honesty, not image." I laughed. Good luck with that. Families usually care more about what the neighbors think. He smiled. Then maybe I'd marry someone who doesn't. It was in that moment that I realized what I'd been missing all along. Not love, not attention, but respect. When Arav proposed a year later, in a quiet rain-soaked cafe where we'd had our first brainstorming session, I didn't cry or scream or post a reel. I just smiled and said yes, because it finally felt like my story was being written by me, not for me. But when I told my family, silence. My mother's first reaction was a sigh. So soon. Ria's barely settled in. My father didn't look up from his newspaper. Who is this boy again? A business owner? Let's see if it lasts. And Ria, the sister whose lehenga-eyed hand stitched pearls on, simply said, "Congrats. Don't expect me to be your maid of honor. I have a baby now." No excitement, no hugs, no joy. Just another reminder that I was still, somehow, the outsider. Ariv noticed the hesitation in my voice when I told him about their response. He took my hand and said, "We'll make our own family. The people who see you, they're your people." And that's when I made a decision that would change everything. I would have my wedding, but not the kind my family had perfected for Instagram. Mine would be different. It would be real, inclusive, global, and no one would be left out. When we started planning, Ariv's company, Soul Knot, insisted on handling the logistics. But instead of keeping it private, we had an idea. What if we opened it up to the world? We launched a small website, The Honest Wedding, where we invited strangers to share their love stories and reasons why they'd like to attend. It wasn't a stunt. It was about community. Anyone from anywhere could register and become part of something joyful. No VIP passes, no exclusive lists, no forgotten sisters. At first, it was just a few entries. College students, backpacking couples, an old widow from Italy who said she missed dancing at weddings. But within weeks, the story blew up. Media outlets started picking it up. Indian couple invites the world to their wedding. Thousands signed up. People from 40 different countries sent messages saying how they wished to attend. Some offered to help, some sent small donations for charity, and others just sent blessings. My family didn't understand it. "You're making a circus out of your wedding," my father said angrily when a news reporter showed up outside our house. "You think this is noble? It's embarrassing." My mother called it attention-seeking. Ria joked that I was trying too hard to prove a point. But I wasn't trying to prove anything. I just wanted to create a world where no one ever had to feel the way I once did. Uninvited, unseen, forgotten. Ariv stood by me through every doubt, every media interview, every sleepless night. "This is your story," he'd remind me. "And this time, everyone gets a seat at your table." As the guest list grew, so did my resolve. And deep down, I knew, when my wedding day came, it wouldn't just be about love. It would be about vindication. About reclaiming my place in the world that once erased me. The first article appeared on a Tuesday morning. It was a small piece in a local lifestyle blog titled, "Indian Couple Opens Their Wedding to the World." I didn't think much of it at first, until my phone started vibrating non-stop. By noon, the post had been shared over 50,000 times. By evening, it was trending across multiple platforms. BuzzFeed, Vogue India, BBC, The Guardian, even a feature on CNN's Instagram page. Suddenly, my inbox flooded with hundreds of messages. Strangers from across continents wanting to attend, collaborate, or simply witness what they called a revolution of love. Ariv laughed in disbelief. "I think the world just RSVP'd to our wedding." But behind the laughter was a deeper truth. The story resonated because everyone had felt excluded somewhere, sometime. People wrote to me about not being invited to family events, about feeling invisible, about craving connection. They said our open wedding felt like hope. We decided to embrace it fully. Our website crashed from the traffic, so Ariv's tech team quickly upgraded it to handle the demand. We set up a global lottery system to randomly invite 500 guests from around the world, with free live streaming for everyone else. We even partnered with non-profits. Every donation went to help fund education for orphaned girls. It wasn't just a wedding anymore. It had become a movement. The more the world loved it, the more my family hated it. My mother called one night, her voice sharp and trembling. "Ananya, this is getting out of hand. What will people think of us? That we're some circus performers?" I stayed quiet for a long moment before saying, "Maybe they'll think we're kind." There was a pause, that heavy silence that always followed when she realized she couldn't guilt me anymore. Then came the familiar line. "You've always wanted attention." I almost laughed. "No, Ma. I just wanted to be seen." The call ended abruptly. Ria didn't speak to me at all. I saw her comment under a gossip post about me. "Not everything needs to be public for validation." It hurt, not because it was cruel, but because it came from someone who'd once been my best friend. But the world kept spinning. Journalists called daily, wanting interviews. Event planners offered free services. Fashion designers sent sample lehengas. Photographers volunteered to document the story. At first I hesitated, but Arif reminded me, "Let them help. They believe in this. It's bigger than us now." So, we leaned in. We didn't rent a palace or luxury resort. We chose a wide, sunlit field outside Jaipur. Open sky, fresh air, and no walls. The wedding would be held under a canopy of lights strung between trees, surrounded by people who believed in inclusion. A celebration that felt like freedom. We set one golden rule. No one sits alone. Every guest would be paired with someone they'd never met, fostering connection across languages and borders. The concept went viral again. The wedding without strangers. Brands reached out offering sponsorships. We refused most, only accepting those willing to donate equally to our chosen charities. It was chaos, but it was beautiful chaos. One evening as we rehearsed the entry walk, Arif turned to me, holding my hand. "Do you realize what you've done?" I smiled nervously. "Started a mess." He shook his head. "Started a legacy." But not everyone shared that sentiment. 2 days before the wedding, my parents arrived unannounced at the venue. The tension was so thick you could almost see it shimmer in the air. My mother looked around, at the foreign guests setting up, the volunteers arranging chairs, the laughter that filled the space. Her lips tightened. "This isn't a wedding," she said finally. "It's a protest." I took a deep breath. It's both. A protest against exclusion, and a celebration of love. My father looked tired, older than I remembered. "We never meant to hurt you," he said quietly. "Then why didn't you ever say that?" He didn't answer. For a fleeting second, I almost wished they'd hold me, apologize, tell me they were proud. But all I got was silence, the same silence that had followed me all my life. So I smiled gently and said, "You're still invited. You always were." They didn't stay for long. My mother muttered something about not being comfortable with all this publicity, and left. My father patted my shoulder awkwardly and followed her. That night, I cried, not out of sadness, but release. I wasn't that forgotten girl anymore, begging for inclusion. I was the woman who created her own belonging. When dawn came, the field outside glowed gold under the rising sun. Volunteers moved like a community, laughter echoing through the air. The stage was simple but breathtaking. White jasmine, woven lanterns, and a handmade arch built by guests from 8 different countries. It was everything I'd dreamed of, a wedding without barriers, without conditions. The day before the ceremony, international journalists began arriving with cameras and microphones. "Ananya, how does it feel to have the world at your wedding?" one reporter asked. I smiled softly. "It feels like I'm finally home." The next 24 hours would change everything, not just for me, but for everyone who'd ever felt left out. Because the wedding wasn't just about love anymore. It was a mirror, reflecting every person who'd ever stood on the sidelines, watching others be celebrated. And as the world watched, something unexpected happened. Something that would turn the wedding into the most viral event of the year. The morning of my wedding felt like a sunrise after a long, endless night. I woke up before dawn, not to the noise of makeup artists or decorators rushing around, but to the quiet hum of wine through the trees outside my window. The air smelled of marigold and rain, the kind of scent that carried both nostalgia and new beginnings. When I stepped outside, I saw faces from all over the world. A woman from Brazil was helping tie ribbons on the chairs. A couple from Japan arranged flowers near the mandip. A man from Kenya tuned his guitar, smiling at the sunrise. There were families, solo travelers, widows, students, all dressed in colors that represented their countries. Yet somehow, we looked like one family. And for the first time in years, I truly felt like I belonged. The ceremony was scheduled for late afternoon, under an open sky filled with fairy lights. But even in the morning, journalists were everywhere. Drones buzzing overhead, live streams being tested, the hashtag the honest wedding trending at #1 globally. Someone told me CNN was broadcasting it live. The BBC wanted a soundbite. Vogue India had called it, the wedding redefining love. But none of that mattered when I saw Ariv walking across the field toward me. He looked at me like I was the only person on earth. "Ready?" he asked softly. "More than ever," I said. The rituals began with laughter, music, and dance. Not choreographed performances, but spontaneous joy. Every guest, regardless of culture, participated in some way. A French woman read a poem about kindness. An Indian classical dancer from Chennai performed an impromptu piece. A little boy from Canada threw petals into the air, giggling. Instead of priests chanting mechanically, we'd invited elders from different faiths to bless the union. A Sikh grantee, a Buddhist monk, a Christian pastor, and a Hindu pundit. Each spoke about love as something universal. When the Buddhist monk said, "Love is not belonging to one person, it is belonging to humanity," I saw tears in Ariv's eyes. Halfway through the ceremony, I noticed something unexpected. My parents, standing quietly near the back. My mother wore a pale pink sari, eyes downcast, while my father stood beside her, expression unreadable. My heart skipped. I hadn't expected them to come. When our eyes met, she looked away quickly, but she didn't leave. And somehow that was enough. The wedding continued. Cameras flashed, songs played, and people cheered as we exchanged vows we'd written ourselves. Ariv's voice trembled when he said, "You taught me that love is not about possession, it's about inclusion. Today, I marry not just you, but the kindness you carry." When it was my turn, I looked out at the sea of faces, friends, strangers, and family alike. "I once thought family was something you were born into," I said, voice breaking slightly. "But today, I've learned it's something you build, with love, with courage, with openness. This wedding is proof that no one deserves to be uninvited from their own story." The applause that followed felt like thunder. Even the wind seemed to pause, carrying the sound across the open field. As the rituals ended and music filled the air again, guests formed a huge circle around us. People danced barefoot on the grass, holding hands, laughing, crying. A woman from Poland and an old man from Mumbai shared a twirl. Two kids from opposite ends of the world chased each other through the flower petals. In that moment, I felt something I'd never felt before. Wholeness. But amid the celebration, I saw my parents start to leave. My chest tightened. Without thinking, I ran after them, my lehenga sweeping the earth behind me. "Ma, Papa!" I called out. They stopped. My mother turned, her eyes glistening. "We shouldn't be here," she whispered. This isn't our kind of wedding." I stepped closer, my voice gentle. "Maybe not. But it's mine. And you're part of it, if you choose to be." For a long, unbearable second, she said nothing. Then my father reached into his pocket and pulled out something small, a folded photograph. It was from Ria's wedding, the one where I'd been cut out. Except this time, there was a photo of me, a screenshot, printed and glued beside it. "I added you," he said softly. "It's not much, but it's a start." My throat tightened. Words failed me. I just nodded, smiling through tears. They stayed till the end. My mother even joined the circle for a brief moment, awkwardly, but willingly. When someone asked for a family picture, she hesitated, then stood beside me. The flash went off, and for once, I was in the frame. That night, as the sky turned violet and lanterns floated upward, I watched the faces around me glow in the soft light. Strangers hugging like siblings. Cultures blending into one song. Somewhere in the distance, fireworks erupted, painting the sky in gold. Ariv took my hand and whispered, "Look, Ananya, the world showed up." I looked up, tears streaming down my face, and whispered back, "Yes. And so did my family." It was more than a wedding. It was a healing. A rewriting of every moment I'd felt small or invisible. As midnight approached, I checked my phone one last time. Millions of views, comments pouring in from every corner of the globe. People wrote things like, "This restored my faith in humanity," and "I wish I could have been there." But the one comment that stopped me cold came from a familiar account, Ria's. It simply said, "I was wrong. You looked beautiful, Didi." And for the first time, I smiled, not the polite smile I'd worn for years, but the kind that came from peace.